Welcome back to Rutin Podcast. I'm your host, Quya.
And I'm Amira.
Past few days, we've received a lot of questions regarding career and advice that we would have given to our younger self regarding, job selection, career decisions, how to negotiate for pays, those kind of stuff. And I think we've gathered questions from our IG, on our TikTok. We're going to answer them now. So all about
at least based on what we would do or what we did before.
Correct. Yeah, based on our experience. Again, we are not expert in this matter. We're not career coaches and all of that, but it's just what we would have done differently or what we did. Right? Okay, so let's go into the first question. So the first question that we had was, how did we decide what job to get or which industry to go into after we graduate from university? So Amira, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So how did I got a scholarship from Astro throughout for my degree. So I had to work with them for 5 years. So I didn't really have a choice. I had to go to Astro. So I was going to be working in media, but even within Astro, there was a lot of different departments and different teams that I could be joining. Somehow I got fell into Astro Awani. To be honest, I did not choose my job. It fumbled through.
They assigned the job to you?
They didn't assign. I still had to go for interviews. I still had the power to decide what I want. But I don't know. Maybe I was just raring to just start making money. So I didn't really pause to think
I
want.
I was in the same position. I was just so excited to earn money. That's it. I didn't really have a long-term goal. And what about you? Did you have a long-term goal of the industry that you want to be in, or 10 years from then, what do you see yourself doing?
I did. I generally did have so I guess to preface what I said, yes, I didn't choose that particular role, but I was doing advertising, marketing, media, which are along the lines, the guidelines that I have, that I want to, the industries that I want to participate in. And I'm a type A person. So I had a vision of where I would be 5, 10. And I had people there who I knew, okay, I want to be where that person is, in this career line of mine. So yeah, I was a bit that, but I felt going back, I didn't choose the job that the first job that I wanted. I didn't get to choose it.
Okay.
I fell into it. But once I got into it, I think then I had sort of a career progression plan, which I know it's just very typical Amira, which I think is not the same for you. How did your first job happen?
Sorry, wait, how did you know, at what age did you know that you wanted to be in advertising media? Before, when did you know and how did you know?
I grew up with a mom who is an advertising veteran. So it was just something that's ingrained in my brain, media, advertising, marketing. I always say that my household, when we watch TV, we are that household that never changed the channel when the commercial comes on.
Right.
Because my mom is reviewing it, right? Because she's in the industry, she's looking. So then we became excited about ads as well.
Oh, wow.
We will be driving in a car and she'll be pointing out to billboards. Hey, look at that billboard. Look at the words that they use or see how that they design. So it was something that we grew up with in our family. So I think it was only natural for me to fall into this line. I knew applying for Astro that it was sort of, at that time, I felt the right fit because of the motivation I had. Yeah.
Okay. That's quite lucky for you because you had your mom who was in the industry that you somehow resonated with as well, and then you decided to do that. Okay.
Correct. But I just want to stress again, it wasn't really properly planned. It was just somehow coincidentally, it wasn't a planned thing.
Yeah. Sometimes it's luck. So again, people do what they do, sometimes also because of luck, and sometimes you're just lucky, and luck plays a lot of role in our lives and how we live our lives.
Yeah, definitely. Being at the right place, the right time.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, it was slightly different because I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I was burnt out from studying. So I was given 2 offers. It was Securities Commission and from Khazanah. So at that time, Khazanah was Khazanah. So, and they offered me like this role where I would have to do accounting at PwC and then do it 1 year, finish my professional papers, and then move back to Khazanah, all those things. And I just knew that I didn't want Khazanah. I hated accounting. I didn't even major in accounting in my degree. I didn't take any accounting subjects. But somehow that was what they offered me. And then, so I declined Khazanah. I decided to go with SC because it seemed like the more relaxed approach. And I was tired from studying at this age. And then I was just like, okay, I want to go to SC, join this rotational program. So in SC, I was rotating to four departments. And I decided to stick to investigation because I could do the work and I could get along the team. And then I could I get along the bosses as well to an extent. So that was it. I was like, okay, I'll stay here. I like the pay and I can get along with the people. And then, yeah, I'll just try to improve and be good at my job. I had no idea that I wanted to be an investigator, investigator. So I was there for 4 years. But if I were to tell my younger self, like what I would have done differently was that to have like a longer term goal of like the industry, like vision at least of what I want, where I want to be in. Like I was always interested in business, but my gut feel at the time, I also got an offer from Fashion Valley, the e-commerce at that time, but the pay was 2,000 ringgit, no EPF, nothing. It was still a startup. And I was like, I think I was too afraid to like take risks. I was like focusing more on like stability. So SC was the more stable company. So I think if I were to tell my younger self was like, if you figure out what you want to do long term, just the industry, doesn't have to be the company. And then you pick a job that aligns more with your long term goal. Like, so if it's business, yeah.
How many years is long term for you?
For me, long term is like at least I could see myself doing for the next 10 to 20 years. So obviously it will change as well. And it's okay for you to change. But I think at that time, I already roughly kind of knew that I liked business. That's why I applied to Fashion Valley. But again, I didn't listen to my gut feel and I chose the safer option. And I wanted to get a car and like all those things. So it's like, it makes more sense.
I think, fresh grad, we fall under the traps, right? Of just choosing things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And we can say that now in hindsight because we are over it.
Yeah.
But and if anybody out there has made the same decision, it's okay. Like it's normal. I think a lot of first grad, it's our first time earning money.
Yeah.
So our motivations are different.
Yeah.
I think like I have a different opinion compared to you. I don't feel like you need a long-term goal. Perhaps because I had it and where I am right now, I am not on that career track and path anymore. So it's great to have a plan. The danger of having too long of a plan, we live in a world where it's just changing too much.
Yeah.
What I would say to my younger self is don't be so hung up with like what you think is the right next move.
Right.
Yeah, and experiment. And there are so many other opportunities out there that don't look like a job, but it's a way to make a living.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that I think I would say to my younger self, especially when I was starting out. I was so like, I need to make sure that, I'm in a company that have a career progression that has, I'll be able to like get to the CEO level someday.
Oh, okay.
If you're going to, open a store and sell goreng pisang and that can make you a living in it, that's so good to go be the CEO of your own goreng pisang store, pisang goreng store. So
I think when we were younger also there were a lot of comparisons regarding you and your peers because it was your first job. That's how you kind of compare like, she got this prestigious job at this company, or like ultimately listen to your gut feel, and you will always change and if you change, like you mentioned, like if you keep changing your plans, I switched evidently from investigations to e-commerce like a few years later. Then I feel like in your 20s is when you take risks. Don't look for that stability. Like I don't know, for me, like I shouldn't have. I regretted not taking Fashion Valley to an extent. Like I'll be like, like maybe I'll be more immersed in the e-commerce. And at that time it was new. E-commerce was new, 2012.
But it's never too late, I feel.
Yeah, it's never too late. That's why I did join Shopee.
I also feel that you don't need to be at the pinnacle of your success by like 30 or like by like 40. It could be any age, There's this like really good meme. If I find it, I'll put it in, like this like timeline, like when McDonald's was founded, when like Mary Kay started, when Steve Jobs, like we live in an age where like somebody like Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook when he was it Harvard or whatever, really young, right? So we feel like by the time that we are 18, we are supposed to already create this massive like social network already.
Life doesn't end at 30. Yeah, same.
But I had that. Like I need to be the youngest, CEO of the company.
Right. The pressure. that you give
The
yourself.
pressure, the pressure. And I think we have to each their own. The career path, there is no template of career path. Everybody has their own career path. And I did not understand that when I was younger. I thought that I had to be on that template. I had to be on that path to track.
Right. At that age, you only know what you know, right? If you think that that template was good enough, then that's why you stuck to it. Like, we only know what we know. But like, I think this day and age with, technology and social media, we can see other people making money with so many other ways. And it doesn't have to be an office job, a prestigious job where you have to wear a suit and tie and like look a certain way. Now it's like you can make money selling things online,
However, there is still a stigma about not having like a corporate job. At least, maybe in like my circle or my peers, there is still, people look down on like self-employed unless you are a successful, like rich self-employed person, right?
Yes.
If you have a company and it's, a huge ass company, then, oh shit, yeah, great entrepreneur. But if you have a small business selling stuff on Instagram, there is like a sense of that it's not like a real living.
Right. Yeah, but if it makes you happy and you can survive off of that income, that's okay, right?
Well, it's not just that, but what I'm trying to pull here, that is a career path.
Okay, right. Yeah.
That is you, one, getting money, so earning a living, and two, progressing in life, because, having a career is not just about money. It's also you growing professionally and personally. So if it fits all that, then it is a career. Maybe now you're doing on Instagram, and then next you open up a website, and then eventually you become that rich millionaire, self-employed person who has a company. So there is like corporate, and then there's like rich millionaire, self-made, and then everybody in between still don't get any
credit.
Don't get any like attention. I was like, this is not a career.
Yeah, that was during our time. Do you think it still applies now? Like for the fresh grads now? Yeah, I think it's...
I look around my peers and some younger ones, there's definitely like a undercurrent of people like pushing through. And with 2020, people are working from home and then realizing you don't actually have to be in an office. So many people started businesses during 2020 because they're just home.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the undercurrent of people like really starting to think that you don't need that salary at the end of every month for it to be a career.
For sure. Yeah.
You can also have, your own hand at figuring out, maybe this month you get this much, maybe this month you get that much, because you are running your own company.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've only been in the corporate side of things.
Same.
So that's what I know. Well, just starting into this self-employed business. So I'm sure I'm going to learn more.
Yeah, I think whatever you choose, like corporate or not corporate, as long as it feels right to you and you can support yourself financially and not burden anyone with your decision, then go for it. I think no right or wrong way, right? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. There's no right or wrong.
So another question that we always get is that people want to know how important or relevant is our degree compared to the job that we want. Okay, maybe like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being super relevant, 10 being not relevant at all.
It's not like a simplistic Don't you think that? So like, if you want to be a doctor, I'm sorry, babes, you have to go to medical school.
Doctor's different. Doctor's different. Yeah. Okay, but like business, accounting, econs, like. For me, my degree didn't matter. Like for my line of work.
What did you do, by the way? What did you study?
My friend don't even economics. I did economics. So I did economics. And I didn't really use economics after uni. So it depends. But like I didn't go into that economics line where like work at a bank, research. So I chose like investigation. But like even with my degree, I could still, become a consultant and then work in SC, then go to e-commerce. So for me, it didn't matter, but that was because of my career path. So what mattered was that your experience once you start working at that company. What I didn't realize is that investigation, when I was in SC for 4 years, it was difficult for me to move out because I was like doing something so niche, like investigation, capital market offenses. So people wouldn't want to hire me because of my experience, not because of my degree. They didn't care about my degree. They cared about my working experience. So
up to a certain point, it doesn't really matter what degree what you got it in. It's just as long as you have one.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the matter. That's why I don't know your degree, girl. Yeah. I just know that you're like a graduate.
I have one degree. I have a degree. Yeah. What about you? Do you think it matters for you for your line of work?
If it's the technicality of certain jobs will require, even with accounting and finance, right? There are some technicalities around it that you do have to have a degree or some sort of papers that you need to have. But the majority, and also, by the way, I went to school in the US where the education is slightly different from, I guess, what we are familiar with, which is the UK type. And also you went to the UK. So in the US, there's something called the liberal arts. You get a degree in like social science, you get a degree in biology, or you get a degree in political history, art history.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that like what do you do with an art history degree?
Yeah,
you become a curator in a museum. How many curators do you know in this world?
I don't know.
It's not about translating the degree into your job. That's why I think I chose the American education, was that they did have an emphasis on making sure that you learn a very variety different type subjects and topics, and that's why you get a liberal arts major. Because sure, they want to study art history, but then they work for the government and maybe they are a diplomat. Because then they start with an art history, you have a strong foundation of history, you have strong foundation of writing, because those kind of degrees require to probably do sorry, I shouldn't swear. Essays 30 pages long.
Right.
So those skills are what is important in university that you bring into your job. It's things like managing expectations of your team, people managing, right?
Correct.
Your team group mates, your professors, working in a team, working in a group, group project, right? Fuck that. Isn't that so similar to like when you're working and dealing with all the fuckery? You learn that in uni. Managing your time. Nobody is there telling you when to study. When I first went to uni was when I first started to do emails, because we use emails. Email etiquette is so important. Thing at work.
Yeah. Do you learn that in uni? Do you learn it in uni? Email?
It wasn't like somebody sat down and taught me how to do it. But because I was in uni and I had to email professors, I had to show them, submit like stuff. So that's when I first started learning those basic, if you're going to be late on something, you email and respond. So stuff like that, like university is when you actually become an adult, and a lot of the things that you do, you are responsible for it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what you learn when you're like doing a degree, in a university. It's like that. It's the precipice of you becoming an adult.
Yeah.
I did do a business degree, and I double majored in finance and marketing, and I have a minor in graphic design.
Oh, wow.
So there's like 3 things, and like 2 of it is what I still do.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
But also things that I learned in uni 10 years ago, I really like. It doesn't make a lot of sense now. So the technicalities or the gist of the degree that I studied is not relevant to me now. But there was a lot that I learned just being a university student, doing my degree that I took to work.
Your first job, would they have accepted you if you had a different degree? If you had, like, say, a degree in engineering, will Astro still offer you that position?
Well, the job is business development. So, it's one of those sales business development. They accept anybody who just shows an interest. Of course, if I was going to apply to an engineering job, then I can't.
You can't.
I can't do it.
Right.
But the other way around.
Yeah, right. Because I think depending on like what you want, obviously, if you want to become an engineer, a doctor, your degree depends on your job. Your job depends on the degree that you're doing. But if you want to do like finance or like BD, business development, sales, I think they're more open to a wider range of degrees. Like engineering can go into business development.
Yeah.
All of that, the skills you learn the most while doing the job and not at uni. Yes. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I was hiring for BD and sales position, I get very excited when I look at applications who are not business, whether it be engineering or they could be a medical student but now want to go into business. I feel like they bring a different perspective to solving solutions compared to business students. So
right. And I think another thing was like consulting also. My husband is doing engineering, so he did engineering degree, mechanical engineering, and McKinsey still offered him an opportunity for an interview at least. So, don't limit yourself to be like, oh, I have engineering degree, I can only become an engineer. No, it doesn't work that way in the real world. Yeah. So
Correct.
to sum it up, on a scale of like 1 to 10, I try to like quantify it. I know it's not as simplistic as that, but like if you had to quantify between 1 being super important and 10 not so much, I would say for me would be like a 6 or 7. 6, I would say 6. It depends ultimately. Like obviously, certain professions you need your degree, but for business type of work, like what I've done in the past, like consulting, e-commerce, BD, and investigator, degree is not important. A 6 for me.
Yeah, I'm following you along the same lines. I was thinking about 6.
Okay.
I'm also a believer that if you don't have a degree, doesn't mean that you won't have a great career as well. So
Yes.
I'm also in that. But having a degree or having a higher, what's it called, higher level education, there are benefits to it.
Yes.
But it's not a one all be all. You are not doomed for the rest of
sure.
your life if you didn't have it. I think.
I agree. 100%. Okay, so the third question that a lot of people actually ask is, especially for the fresh grads or the younger, like in their 20s. So what were the skills that were super important to us for when we first started working? Like you mentioned briefly just now, email etiquette. What are the other things that you wish you had when you started working?
The basics of using a computer in general.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at it because surprisingly there are people, when you hire, they still have, and things like, Word document, Excel, calendar, sending invite, so that goes all up for me. Email, it's very, very basic, and it's funny. It's I feel like sort of laughable to even mention it. Those kind of things, like you don't put it in your resume, but make sure you have it down pat.
Yeah.
Like don't make people like annoyed.
Yes. I think
for not being able to use those kind of like hygiene. Everybody has that.
Yeah, I think for me it was the same because I was working in Securities Commission, so it's not a very tech-savvy company, sadly. So I didn't really use that many. It was just like Word, but Excel and stuff I didn't really use, and we just used Word and PowerPoint for presentations. And then it was just basic stuff. But then when I moved to consulting, like PwC, I know consulting is like all about the slides, all about like the Excel shortcuts. So like you can brush up on those things that will basically you will have a leverage. Like if you're good with Excel, like if you're good with the shortcuts, if you're good with the graphs, Excel, PowerPoint as well, like the ability to make short, like punchy slides for consulting, that was really helpful. And I think those kind of skills actually helped me move to e-commerce as well. In Shopee, we use a lot of slides because the management, they don't have a lot of time to go through all your wordy slides. They just want punchy and like straight to the point, graphs. And like, so if you can, if that skill, you will learn throughout the job. But if you already have that when you first graduated, you're very good, clear on like what you want to present, that's like, you will go far.
So that's the thing that I feel you learn in business school if you did a degree.
Okay.
So that's an edge. Now just touching back on what we spoke, the question before. There is an edge by having a business, because what you just mentioned, right, is an executive summary. And that's drill. Any business student, that's drilled. Like every case study that you do, there is an executive summary. And as you mentioned that, you're right. I took that as hygiene for me. I never even thought of it. But yes, I was that girl who was very punchy PowerPoints, and I always summarize everything so that you can understand everything in like say 1-2 slides.
Okay,
you want to find out more? Okay, then we'll go through the rest of the. So yeah, but that's a great point, especially if you're doing sales, business development type of work. I had another one just now in my notes, is now with the world that's changing, understanding how to use cloud services. And things like saving documents and sharing. Now people are doing PowerPoints online so that everybody has different inputs.
Google, right?
Yeah, I think it's slightly new, and you always know in a company there will be maybe some of the older people who are like complaining about it. But in my head, I'm like, you just got to get with the program. Like this is how the world is functioning and how business is moving. And for you to say, oh my God, I don't know how to use Google Drive, I don't feel that is acceptable.
Yeah.
Anymore.
I think you need to be very adaptable in this day and age, especially with technology. You need to be very open. I had a fresh grad who joined my team in Shopee. He, believe it or not, he asked me how to use Google Calendar. I was just like, Google. I said Google. Yeah, so like those kind of things, if you should be already know these things. And if you don't know, you have to be proactive about it. Educate yourself, be equipped instead of asking people to spoon feed you. I think that's another thing that was like ingrained in me in PwC and Shopee, because in SE, the culture was a bit more, they're a bit kinder to you. They will spoon feed you. They will tell you what to do. They're patient. They'll tell you what to do step by step.
And then you went to a Big Four.
Big Four was like...
Nobody's waiting for you. Exactly. Nobody's waiting for you.
In Shopee, my boss, I had to design like a wobbler for Shopee Pay. I had no idea how to design. I have zero design skills.
Yeah.
And then I went to my boss, how do I design wobbler and everything? He looked at me, he said, I don't know.
Okay, but you touched a really, really great point that I wish I knew when I first started, is that there is like, nobody's going to tell you what to do. In some situations, you know, there is expectation of you, right? But you are there to complete a job. And I think I went into starting my first job thinking that, okay, I'm in this role. There must be a way for me to like excel in this role. I'm just going to do it very well. Not knowing that when I asked my boss, so what am I doing? And he's like, we need to make money. That's it.
Right.
And then I have, not that I have to do it, but then I learned through speaking with my bosses, with my teams, and then we come up with a plan. So it's nothing's going to be handed to you on a plate. Like, hear this out, people out there. Nothing is going to be handed to you ever decoratively, nicely on a china plate.
Yeah.
Everything is an opportunity that you need to grab. You need to go and make it happen. You say that, your boss asks you to design, say a masthead. A wobbler. Says, okay. And you think that, okay, somebody must have done it before. So I'm just going to look at that and then look at a template. And then you realize, no, there is no. So instead, that is like the work, that is work in general, right? There is no template. So that is an opportunity for you to shine. Yeah. And even when you're interviewing, right? That's the reason why, when you talk to university students, you say, get involved in clubs. People want to see that in your resume. And these are the things that actually reflects when somebody is very active student in uni. They know how to use a Google Calendar.
Correct.
If you are a president of a club, pretty sure you know how to use Google Calendar. Pretty sure you know how to like create, do an event, create. If you don't know how to do, you know where to get it. You know how to solve it.
Correct.
That is the secret sauce, I'd say, to a really great recruit. It's not so much the degree that they come with, but it's the other skills that they have. And I was a very smart student, straight A's, got really good grades in uni as well. But I wish that I played more on my street smart.
So I thought I needed to be this like business savvy and know how to do all this diagram and know how to do the SWOT analysis and all the stuff that you learn in business school.
Right.
And of course that was great, and they knew I had that, but it was actually the problem solving. I think that's the thing. Everybody should enter into their career, their job, thinking that they are going to be a problem solver. What that problem is going to be different across different jobs, different responsibility, different industry, but you want to solve that problem. Last time, I just didn't think that. I just think that I studied, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I didn't really think about solving like business problems.
Right. I think for me as well, it was more of the attitude. I think because I didn't go to business school, so I didn't have I didn't know a lot of things like Excel. When I was in PwC, basically like thrown into the deep end. I was just like, and I was at that point, I was the manager, so I was supposed to be doing all this Excel. I was supposed to be good at it, right? But I wasn't. So I think it was also more of like your attitude. I think number one is always like, other than your credentials and your capabilities, you can be smart, but if you don't have the right attitude, it won't work. I was willing to learn, given the steep learning curve. I was like, okay, I understand that I wasn't good at certain things. I wasn't good at Excel, Word, all those things, but I could learn. Like, I'm not stupid. I can learn. So I told myself to like, okay, now you pick it up, you learn now. It's fine, never too late. Like we mentioned just now, it's never too late to learn. So I feel like when you first start a job and maybe you see someone like your colleague who's like super good at a lot of things. Obviously, it's only natural to feel a bit down. But I was like that when in PwC, I was comparing myself with all the other managers who have been in PwC for 4 years, right? And I was in SC for 4 years. So obviously, I felt like I wasn't qualified to be there. But I pushed myself. And in the end, I felt like I kind of like overtake the existing managers because of my desire to be good at my job at that time. So I think it was always my attitude to learn and to want to know more and improve yourself. I think ultimately, everybody's baseline is different. What you have after degree, when you graduated is different. Like, depending on your degree, your conditioning, your upbringing, everybody starts at a different place, but you can always work towards a certain level. I think just more like push yourself. You can do it. I feel like a lot of people, like as a fresh grad, I was very down on myself, like, because I didn't have that confidence that I could do certain things and like blah blah blah. But like, then I realized if you just slowly take it one day at a time, push yourself, you will get through it. I think don't be so hard on yourself and compare yourself to your peers, because just compare yourself to how you were a year ago. They also want to know about English. Like for you, it has been your first language, right? Right, English.
No, I wouldn't say it's my first language.
Okay. But how did your mom or your family instill English speaking? I mean, for you to speak English, like at home and all of that, and then, yeah.
Yeah, so we have always been at a certain point in time, my mom told us that we just need to up our English proficiency.
Okay.
This was, I want to say, like 20 years back when we were growing up. And she felt that we needed to speak English at home so that we have a better command of it. And true enough, that's why I speak English very fluently.
Okay.
In terms of how it applies to career-wise, in Malaysia, there is a definite advantage by being fluent in English, not just in Malaysia, I guess in a lot of the Western cultures. However, I think there is, based on the people that I work with, I have learned to understand that, or learn to acknowledge that English proficiency is not a determination of
your
their
intellect
skills or their knowledge.
Yeah.
But people who are good in English will be really, really good at certain jobs, which is why I see it as a strength. It's not so much a mandate or a necessity.
Right. Okay.
But I will let you know, I mean, for people who think that, okay, I don't need to learn English, a lot of opportunities will not be available if you don't speak English fluently. But I can say that same thing about not being able to speak Mandarin. Right now I can speak Mandarin, and it's one of the most used language in the world, and I have friends who are now learning Mandarin because of business. So I have a feeling that we talk about English now, maybe 20 years down the road, they're going to ask us, how do you feel about not being able to speak Mandarin proficiently? How do you survive? But because language is just a way of storytelling. But if you are able to convey your message and your storytelling in a different way, in a different language, maybe through pictures, through image. I don't think English proficiency is that critical. I will say, although it does keep you up a notch from everybody else. And there will be certain jobs that will just be really, really good for you if you have good
English. And again, with the baseline where everyone starts at a different baseline, if you work in an environment where everyone speaks English, you can practice, like push yourself to speak English, and don't be.
How did you find it?
Okay, because I don't speak at home. I speak Malay, right? So I think I started to improve my English proficiency when I was in school. So I went to Sri Aman, so people speak English mostly. But with my husband and even my family, I will speak Malay at home. SC was like a mixed bag, like Rojak. I wasn't speaking like the professional corporate English when I was at SC. So when I moved to PwC, again, my bosses were all like foreigners. So they expected a certain level of English when I joined. So I wrote a report, and then they were criticizing my tenses, my grammar, like all these things. So obviously I was very shocked, because I thought like, oh, my English is okay lah. I can speak English, right? But obviously professional English writing is slightly different. And then, so I was a bit down on myself, and I was asking myself, how do I want to improve this? I think it's just by doing it, by speaking. So like when I listen to my bosses speaking and they use certain like bombastic words, I will like Google it and then I will try to use that word the next time I speak something. And then even watching Netflix with the English subtitles, that helped me kind of like learn new words and how to use them in sentences. And then I wasn't hard on myself. If, for example, my boss say, oh, your report, the English, the grammar or whatever doesn't make sense or whatever, I feel like it's okay. English was not my first language. My first language is Bahasa. And so it's okay if I'm not the best at English. I don't judge myself, but I know that a lot of people, when they speak broken English or, their English is not great, and then people will be like, oh, instead of you are blah, you say you is something, right? Then people will be like, oh, it's not are, it's is or whatever, right? They will criticize your English and then you feel, and then you feel like, oh, I don't want to speak English anymore because I malu, I takut. Just tell yourself it's not your first language. The fact that you're trying is already good enough, I feel like that was what I told myself. Yeah.
I never went through what you went through because I already started, my baseline is already really good English.
Right.
But what I noticed, like I guess my peers and also when I was a manager and I had to manage some people who were struggling with English.
Okay.
So maybe this is not an advice for younger staff, maybe this is advice for somebody who
wants to learn.
Teammates or have people who manage who needs help. Is the same thing. It's that you need to understand it's not that they don't know about it, it's that they have a fear or they are insecure. If somebody tells me and tries to speak to me in broken English, if I get the message, okay, I'm like, fine, you don't have to speak the Queen's English with me.
Yeah.
For my team members, and I guess because I had a bit more control over them, I do encourage them to simple things like reply to vendors, because it will be in English. I work in an international, so a lot of it is like outside Malaysia, so you have to be in English. So usually the manager will be the one dealing, but I try to put a bit of ownership on them to reply to emails first because it's in English, and then get them to participate in conversation.
Oh, okay.
If it's like a specific function, I will directly ask them about it to kind of put them in a situation again to get them to practice. The thing about language is you have to do it. You have to. The way for you to do better is to do it. If you are in the presence of a really good team and a really good boss, I feel at the end of the day, what's important is you get the message across. What is the medium, what language you use is up to whether it's perfect, whether it's broken, whether it's English, Malaysian English, or is it Queen's English, or is it Australian English? It's a medium. But if that person, for me at least, is able to get that message from A to B and then it's strong no matter whatever, then I'm like, oh.
It's okay, all right. Yeah.
For people who are struggling with English, like remember this, you don't have the right grammar, but you are able to get your information across. Nobody's going to remember that you had bad English. Because you got the job done. You solved the problem.
Yeah, I agree. From my TikTok live, some people, they said that, like, even my husband was telling me where he grew up in Kajang. So a lot of his friends were Malay. So he said that whenever he wants to speak English, he gets a lot of judgment. People will say, oh, poyo lah, kenapa nak cakap English speaking? So what advice would you give to if you had someone in your team who was like, his surrounding was like that, so he can't practice it anywhere else, or like where they feel trapped,
Yeah.
They want to improve. I think for me, that I would say social media nowadays, you can type comments in English. So you can practice, writing comments. You can go on forums like Reddit and all of that. You can write comments in English. So that's how you practice your written English. Social media is another great way to learn English so you don't, because you're scared of your friends, right? So if you type comments, it's like they won't know that you poyo or anything, right? So you're still practicing, but quietly through social media. I think social media is helpful. Find a group of friends that you're also comfortable with to speak English. I think ultimately that's also very important because you need to practice it. So if people around you are not supportive, you need to find people who are supportive if it's truly important to you, because English is just a way to communicate. And if you think it's important, you should ignore those people. I don't know. I've never been in that position, but push yourself to find people who will support you or go online. That would be my advice. Have you experienced that, Myra? Like people who are scared to speak English in your team?
I have experienced people who are scared to speak English, and also I have experienced people telling me shit because I speak English.
Oh, really? They say
Yeah,
Poyo.
and this is, personally and as well as across corporate.
Okay.
Mm,
How do you deal with
what
that?
is my advice for somebody who's going through it? So, okay, going back to like that person who asked this question wants to improve your English, right? And it sounds like your friends are not on the same page. So, like Quya said, it's okay. Let them still be your friends, but don't speak English with them, lah. Like, seriously, right? But the task remains the same. You still need a way to practice. So could it be work where you practice it? Perhaps you have somebody, you have a boss or a team member who is good, and just let them know. I definitely have been that person for somebody who wants to improve their English. So I play a bit of tough love. I only speak English to that person.
Oh, okay.
It gets into that rhythm, right? And you know what you said, going through social media, watching Netflix and having like subtitles on. I think what that person is the person who's asking, what he's going through is more on the peer pressure and the social stigma of speaking English versus speaking Malay, which is traditionally our mother tongue. I think that's a different question that he's going through. It's not really a career-wise. But for him, if it's for his career and he wants to improve his English, if doing it with his friends is not an option, find other options. There are many other options out there.
Okay.
So I don't think that should stop you. But managing your friends and how they make you feel and stuff like that, maybe that's
another episode. Different episode. So that concludes part 1 of this episode. Be sure to tune in to part 2 of this episode where we answer more questions related to our career journey next week. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.